All right, and welcome to another episode of Influencer Profits. Our guest today, I'm really exciting. This guy is a plethora of knowledge when it comes to social media. We have Kim Barret with us today, and Kim is a world-renowned social media marketer who really focuses on Facebook, helping you get measurable, attainable results. Right, so he is an expert in paid ads. He's an expert certified baller, what I like to call him as. He's an international best-selling author, speaker, training, and he's really taught marketing around the world, helping businesses grow and scale to 6 and 7 figures. So Kim, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it is super early where it is that you are. You're down in your coffee as we speak. So I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us. So thank you.
Absolutely my pleasure. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, us too.
Awesome. So Kim, give us the rundown, where'd you come from? I know we've chatted before, but everybody's on here and they want to know more about you, your story, and how'd you get to kind of where you are. Give us the, rundown.
Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit. So it all really kicked off for me. If I look back at it when I was about 15 years old. So I was always playing with like little businesses and things like that. And I think like most entrepreneurs, an addictive personality. So whenever I get into something, it's like, I'm addicted to it. I just want to know everything about it. I want to be amongst it as much as possible. And so one of those things for me, and it's going to kind of sound a little weird, was tropical fish breeding, right? So tropical fish, I used to have, me and my dad were breeding them. We were selling them. We had like 50 fish tanks in our back shed, all different types of species from all over the world. We would breed them and then we'd sell them. So I used to run, back in the day, forums. So I used to run a forum for tropical fish in Australia. And they came to me, and pretty much at that time I was 15, so I was like, I know everything. I can figure anything out. So anytime they would have a question, they would come to me like, Kim, do you know this? And I'd be like, yep. And then I'd just go Google it and figure it out after. So they were like, oh, we need to get sponsors for the forum because otherwise we're going to shut down. We've got we need to get about $40,000 in sponsorship fees or products that we've got to give to our people because we've got so many people coming to the site, we can't really facilitate hosting it and paying for it ourselves. Like, do you know how to get sponsors? I was like, yeah, of course I know how to get sponsors. And I was like, well, I have no idea how to get sponsors here. And I was like, what information do you have for me? They're like, we don't have any, but they're like, here's the dashboard in the back of the website. You can get all the information about what's going on the website, how many visitors we have, all that sort of stuff. I was like, cool. So I screenshotted it. I think I put it into like Microsoft Paint at the time, saved this shot, and it was like showed all the monthly visitors, all the traffic. And then I just went around on the internet, started searching for like fish, anyone that was selling fish products and all that sort of stuff. And I got like a list of, I think like 50 emails. So I just created a BCC email to myself and then BCC'd all these people and I was like sponsorship - fish forum. And I was like, hey guys, my name's Kim. I'm one of the main moderators from this forum. Just wanted to let you know, and I didn't know I was using certain like marketing tactics like scarcity and all this sort of stuff. Because we literally it was like a website site. We only had spots for 10 banners. I was like, we literally only have 10 spots available for this thing and we need either $4,000 from you in products or services. So products or payment, and here's our PayPal link. And as soon as the first 10 are there, it's done. We can't take any more. Here's a shot of all the traffic that we get. It was pretty substantial. Like we had a lot of traffic coming for a forum of those days with no advertising. Put it up there and finished it out, sent it off, and it was like midnight. And I went to bed, woke up next morning for school. And one of the guys on the old MSN Messenger, I checked my MSN before I went to school, and it popped up and it was like, Kim, what did you do? And I was like, did I like not BCC everyone? Did I kind of screw something up here? I was like, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, we have like just under $40,000 in our PayPal account, and we have all these people saying they're going to send us all these products. What did you do? I was like, oh, really? That worked? I was like, you asked me to get sponsors. I went and got sponsors. I did what you asked. And he's like, this is epic, so good. And so then it completely like changed that. We had everything taken care of. It was all good. Ended up, really growing really, really, really big, which was epic. But at that time, I was like, well, that means to me, I didn't get anything from that. I think they sent me 2 fish. And I was happy with that at the time. Now, please don't send me fish people if I quote you $40,000 or something. 2 fish does not equate. But no, they were like, well, you know, like, I was like, there's money to be made on the internet. So if this forum, all they have is we have people there, they have traffic. If we could make $40,000 from like really one email, then to me that means like there's something there that I need to learn now. And that's when I was like, cool, I want to learn more about online business, online marketing, all that sort of stuff. And that kind of really started my trajectory into everything that I learned.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Did they say, you know, I'm not sure what you did here, something really smells fishy?
I knew you were going that way.
Trust me, there's all the fish jokes were had. All the fish jokes were to be had.
You got all of them out of there. That's good.
Yeah.
So, coming from fish, which is really funny, how does that evolved into what it is that you do today?
So I was at school at the time. That still pushed me, and I was like, oh well, I wanted to be an international businessman. I didn't really know what that meant. I was like, I want to be an international businessman. I went and studied that at university. So it pushed me towards learning more largely like how businesses work, marketing and management of them, and things like that. And I had pretty much up until when Facebook ads first came out, I remember, I always had my own little business. I had a business with my brother called K-Boss Fitness. We sold health supplements here in Perth. And I was like, but the way that we were doing it at the time, and I kind of like, even though I knew that and I learned that from when I was 15, I kind of forgot that it would be applicable to a normal business as well, like a bricks and mortar or whatever you want to call it. So I was like, we had all these supplements. We'll go in the gym. So we will go in. The way that I would do it is I would just go literally to every dude there who looked like he had muscles. I'd be like, bro, here's a protein powder. Here's a pre-workout. Have these. When you want them, my card's there. Give me a call. And I'll give you better prices than anyone else because I had no overheads. I was doing it from my home. So that's the way that I did it. But then there was one week where I crashed my car and then I couldn't drive anywhere. I couldn't get to the gym because it was like I was like 45 minutes out of like the main town, if you will. And I was like, well, how am I going to get sales this week? I just ordered all this product. And I was just sitting there and I was like, and then, you know, some people would come to me and get it. I was like, well, how am I going to make new sales though? And I was like, oh, why don't I just do what I did when I was doing like selling stuff online, like with the fish stuff that I did? Why don't I do that for this business? And then I can still drop it off to people. They can come pick it up, whatever. I didn't want to have to post it. And so then I was like, and then I started playing around and I was looking at Google Ads and I was like, no, this looks really complicated. And then I started looking at Facebook and it was like when you can only do the right column stuff. It was like very early on and I was like, this looks pretty easy. And it's like, click. It's like, who do you want to target? I was like, these people. I was like, Perth. And they're like, interest. I was like, fitness. I was like, this is amazing. And then I just like put up an ad and it was like a picture of, I just looked up like hot bodybuilding girl, I think was the way the Google search, and took that photo and put it there. And then I was like, sending that to the girls. And then I was like, I think it was, who was it? Can't remember who Mr. Olympia was at the time, but it was one of the big dudes. I can't remember. Not Kai Green. It would have been, anyway, doesn't really matter. Ronnie Coleman, something like that. Big dude, right? Buff. And I was like, cool. Like, you know, the supplements that are this, like that, you know, Ronnie Coleman recommends or whatever. And it was like, boom. And it was, I didn't do any false advertising there. And then just started getting people to come in. I was like, cool, buy, and just sent them to like a little page like buy now. It was a terrible page. And people started buying. I was like, I remember this stuff now. It all comes back to me, all my prior training. And then I was like, okay, now I need to understand this. Now I need to delve into it more. And that's when I just like doubled down. I was like, I'm just going to focus on, because I used to play with like SEO, other bits and pieces. And I was like, no, I'm just going to go on Facebook, just going to go hard here. And then I didn't really know about like, as I said, I went to university for marketing and management. I didn't know that having an online digital advertising agency was a thing. So, you know, I just started doing it, and then people were like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I do a few bits and pieces and I do some stuff on social media. And they're like, oh, social media, wow. Like, yeah, we don't know how to use that. Like, so my first sale was actually the guys that, my sister and I built a house. We sold it. The guys that sold our house for us, I was like, oh, you guys probably don't have very good social media, do you? They're like, nah. I was like, you should pay me. Like, I was just joking with them. I was like, you should pay me. I paid you. You should pay me, right? I sold my house with you, and you should let me do your social media. And they're like, okay. And I was like, oh, crap. Now I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do here. So that was good fun. But then that's when I first started. I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to start looking at how can I do this as a service for people? How can I, extrapolate and build on that even more?
I think there's a really important thing there is like everybody, they listen to this stuff and they want to be like so good and so perfect and have everything so down before they really go out there. But like the most successful people that I've seen, and I've done this in millions. We've done this. We literally like, we had one person reach out to us about Facebook ads for solar. And we got like started getting results for this one client and like was crushing it for him. And then we were like, oh, well, let's go do this. Like, and we had like 23 people give us, deposits to run their Facebook ads over the next like week. It was like I just went out and started selling like crazy. And she's like figuring, I'm like, all right, well, how to do Facebook.
I'm either doing ads or I'm watching trainings on how to do ads and like full hard. So I think, yeah, you really got a point. A lot of people think they have to have everything all together and they know it. But I love that that's just how it's always been for you. You're like, I'll figure it out. Tell me what you need. I'll do it. Yeah. I can figure it out. And I love that attitude. I think that's the attitude of a true champion.
Yep. One of the big things is, because everyone, as you say, they think it has to get perfect and it just holds you back. And it's not that you shouldn't put things in place to make it better over time. But like, so I was on a call with some of my clients yesterday and they're like, oh, and look, they're doing like a couple grand, like what are they doing? Like 5-ish grand a month each. And their goal was to get to 20 grand a month. And they're talking to me about how they're doing their SOPs and all this sort of stuff. I was like, guys, I like love you, but shut up. Like, no, you don't need to do SOPs. You have like 3 clients. It's not that hard. It's like you wake up, you have a shower, you do some work, you're pretty much done. Like you don't have it hard. I was like, go figure out. It was like, we got to niche in. We got to figure out who you're going to market to. Go make some sales, right? Marketing and sales are only 2 things that matter unless you've got $1 million plus business. Let's go get some sales in. Then let's build some SOPs around that. But as well, if you don't have a predictable outcome that you're giving people and also you don't have the right niche, it doesn't really matter. Like you can have SOPs, but that's not like, no one's going to go, oh, show me your SOPs before they pay you. Like, it's not like it's going to help you get more sales. It's like, oh, well, that Google Drive looks really nice on your Monday. Well, that looks set up really well. Of course I'm going to give you $5 grand. It's like, that doesn't work like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's well, actually, one of our mentors, he was $2 million in debt. And he said, this is exactly what I did was I booked 260 phone calls, right? Just like get to know you, like, hey, what do you do? Like, he was pretty successful before, but like went wildly in debt. And like, so he just started networking so hard. And literally, I think he said he did like $560,000 in like a few weeks, just because like having these conversations of like, hey, this is what I'm really good at. Who do you know that like needs like this type of thing? And I just started selling and just, basically putting this out there and so on and so forth. And it's just so like amazing. And that's what we teach to a lot of our clients is like, if you're in a cash flow challenge, you just need to go out there and have as many conversations as you possibly can and just hustle or grind it out, whatever you need to do. Just start booking calls with like, and like, hey, what's going on? Let's jump on a call real quick. And like, what can we do? This is my skill set. Who do you know? And these are like, I have a team, really, if I'm not an expert, but I have an expert, well, I can now sell their product. Like we had, when we first started our agency, we had a guy that was doing funnels for a lot of really, really big people. So we had his whole like credibility of like, he's done all of this stuff. And so, you want to see some of the work that we've done? Well, we've done work for, our team have done work for all these people, so on and so forth. You want to see it? Yeah. It's all of it.
It's so true. Did I tell you guys that, I don't know if I told you before, the story about the 9-day sales challenge that I did?
Please do.
Because this is a video as well, right? I don't know if you guys can see over here. See that big sword up on the wall?
Yes.
Yes. That looks like my Braveheart sword.
It's one of the swords from, I think it's Lord of the Rings. My brother's Lord of the Rings geek, so he would know exactly. He's like, oh, it's he knows the exact name and where it's from, all that sort of stuff. But so I went and did a 9-day sales challenge with one of my mentors, right? And so the challenge, but to be part of the sales challenge, you had to pay $30,000, right? So it's $30K upfront, no payment plans, none of this rubbish. It's like $30K, and then you go for 9 days. So the challenge is that you're locked in a house with them. So those are my sales mentors for 9 days, and all you do is phone calls, right? For 9 days straight. And if you win, you get that sword. So for me, when I got there, I was like, okay, I'm going to get this done. But it was, I did 56 hours of sales calls that week, like of actual hours on the phone. That's not my prep. That's not my like getting leads in. It's like proper sales calls. At the end of it, I did 690K in sales in 9 days.
What?
Yeah, and that was just literally. And so when I come back, when I'm speaking to those guys yesterday, I was like, guys, if you want results, like spend 56 hours on the phone, and you will get, and you can make whatever, you can get whatever clients you want. It doesn't really matter. But the reason why I always tell them, and I tell that story, is not because it's like, yes, that was a cool result. However, number one, I know what's possible. But number two, it's like, what the lifeblood is. It really is. It's like marketing and sales is what you need to have your business growing, even up to probably $2-3 million to build that foundation. It's like, yes, delivery is important, leadership, culture, all these things make business. But if you don't go and sell, and when I got my 2 Comma Club award as well, I did an interview with Dave on Funnel Hacker Radio, and I was like, he's like, so it was a webinar funnel, and I was like, I'm probably going to be the only guy in here that's going to be like, my 2 Comma Club webinar sucks. I made no sales on my webinar, but I literally called every single person that registered for my webinar. I was like, hey, you just watched my webinar. And then that was just the conversation. I was like, look, I'm probably the worst 2 Comma Club earner when it comes to my webinar. And people are like, oh, can I check out your webinar? I was like, you can, it sucks. But if you watch it, I will call you, and I won't stop calling you until you tell me to go away. So feel free to register. But yeah, you're going to be, I will hunt you down, and I will sell you something if it's suitable for you.
That's
awesome.
I think that's really important, because a lot of people, especially online, they have this like almost this facade, like, I just want automated sales and I don't want to talk to anybody. And the reality is, like, that just doesn't happen. So I'm grateful that you brought that up.
It's so.
I mean, it does happen. I can't say that. It does happen, and it's a lot easier to just have a conversation with people, and it's a lot more effective. People trust you more.
And you can sell more expensive stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so funny because, well, one thing we teach our clients that even if you're selling a course, like you need like $1,000, like even if you're selling $1,000 course, you need to be getting on the phone to close those courses when you're first getting started, because like your webinar is probably going to suck and your process is going to suck. And so you need to like be getting on to booking calls and closing those courses. And we had a client close like 5 courses his first week of launching or whatever. So that was awesome. But it was funny, when I first started my affiliate business, I was in a company that they were very against their, put down the phone and pick up the paycheck. That was their thing, right? And so, but I was in Facebook Messenger all freaking day messaging people until my fingers were bleeding. So I wasn't talking to anybody, but I wasn't even, but I was grinding my face off. So I wasn't really as effective as I could have been in my marketing. Like, if I would have been just getting on the phone, I could have like closed more people. If they would have just taught me, like, just book calls, like use the chat to get them on the call and then close them and then upsell them or whatever, I would have been like probably made 5 to 10 times more money than I really did, because I was willing to, like, I wasn't willing to even get on the phone with somebody.
And the big reason why that is as well, and because some people hear that, right, and they go, oh, it's just to make more money and to make more sales. It's like, no, it's so that you get more information as well, because when you're on there, if someone's in Messenger, you can't tell what their tonality is like. You can't tell if they're potentially lying, if they're scared, they're worried or anything like that. But when you speak to them and you ask them questions and they give you the answer they would have typed in Messenger, you can be like, that's BS. There's a little bit of BS behind that. Come on, tell me the real truth. Or you can get the information. And so that's why I always say to people is like, if you pick up the phone, which is kind of anti when you're in internet online marketing, like phone sales, it's kind of anti what everyone else does. But when you do that, it's like, well, you can find out now what their actual pain points are, what their fears and frustrations are. So if you do 5 phone calls, you will get more information than any data test that you want to try and put out there, any survey funnel, because again, people lie in those things anyway. But if you do 5-hour-long phone calls, you have, and even if you made no sales, that is worth like $100,000 to your business plus, because you've got the actual information now. So when you go back and you're writing a message, or when you go back and you're writing an ad, you're like, oh, these guys said this. And that's the stuff. And then everyone's like, whoa, these people they know this stuff. You know, they know my fears and frustrations better than anyone else. I'm going to work with them because they know what's going on and they know how to articulate my problems better than I do.
Yeah, that was actually something really interesting. You want to go?
No, go ahead.
So our client, Chris, he's a podcast expert, and he had like some smaller stuff that he was selling, but we helped him launch his course for $1,000. And he might have booked like 30 calls. He was like complaining because he wasn't making more sales, but he got 5 sales his first week out of those like 30 calls, or maybe it was 2 weeks, whatever. Anyways, and I was like, no, you made $5,000 for one thing. For two, how much information do you now have about these people and what they're, because one of the things we talk about is like the FEF funnel, and like using their objections to in creating stories and using testimonials to overcome those objections. And if you didn't have those phone calls to get those objections, now you don't have that information. Now he can go back, do all kinds of content to overcome those objections, create a funnel to overcome those objections, which he helped him create his challenge, which is now booking calls like crazy, and all those objections are overcame before they get on the phone.
Yeah, 100%. And you can't get better at them. And then I think like if you do phone sales, I think it does lead to eventually you getting better at webinars and things like that. Because as you say, you can embed all the things that you need to all the way along, but you would never know how to overcome a partner objection unless you've got a partner objection on the phone. Like someone's like, oh, I need to speak to my partner about it. It's like, cool. Well, like how would you know how to overcome that if you haven't had a phone call with someone and you've had to bounce around that precariously and see how you can overcome it? Like it just wouldn't be possible. So yeah, I think it's so important. And a question for you guys: what's your opinion on? I know mine. Do you guys recommend scripts for people when they do sales calls, or how do you like structure that when you're teaching some of your clients as well? What's your like thought process on that?
You have something called the 5-step close. All right, so basically getting really clear on somebody's vision, what their like big picture is, try to kind of expand upon that, get them into it, get that feeling of where they're going to be, finding out what their challenge is, and with achieving that, and then basically asking them like, why now?
So why do you want to do this now? Why are we on the phone now? And then also, why us? After that, like, why are we on the phone with us? Why not with someone else? And let them tell us why. And then from there.
Yeah, and then basically after that is just like, do you want our help with that? And sometimes I'll feel it out. If they don't go through our processes and don't watch our stuff or haven't been on our podcast or whatever, they will not be quite there of like we're the person for them. So I'll just ask them, I feel confident about us getting you to that vision and overcoming those challenges. And if they don't say like 100% yes, then I cut them off. I say, all right, cool. So why don't you go watch our stuff a little bit more and see and like go through our process and really see what we're doing here, and then rebook, and we'll see, and then we'll talk then when you know that we're a good fit. We're the people for you.
Yeah, love that, because I'm a big, so I know, because a lot of people think when they listen to this stuff as well, and anyone's watching this podcast, they're like, oh, these guys must just be like amazing on the phones. But it's like, you do need to have that repeatable process. And that's something that I like to always emphasize to people, because it's like, if you have a repeatable process you have for your front end, for your funnels, for your ads, everything else, and then you get on the phone and you say whatever, it's like you can't test and measure results properly. So it's like, if you've got a 5-step process or whatever the process might be, it is scripted in that way. It's not like necessarily word for word. Sometimes there are, I know, like I've done though, where it's like certain things. It's like if you ask, like if you have the golden question from what's the guy's name? Not Dan Kennedy. One of the big super coach. I forgot what his name is anyway. But like the golden question, things like that. Certain ones have to be phrased in a certain way to get people to think right. But otherwise, it's like you need to have that process, because if you test and measure everything else, but then you don't test and measure that, it's like again you just lose that opportunity. So yeah, I'm glad you guys said that, because yeah, I'm on board with that as well.
I couldn't imagine, like, but then there's the other side of it. Like every word has to be, and like, I can't read a script to save my freaking life. Like to actually like read a script, we've tried that for videos, and I come off terrible. So
off of videos, it's
coach. Yeah, we actually had a coach who was he watched like the first 5 seconds of our webinar, and it was him reading like the presentation on the thing, and he literally almost spit his copy out, and he's like, "This is terrible. Don't read."
Yeah.
And it was the best advice ever, right? So it's good that, you know, to take feedback like that. But
yeah, and so now I just introduce her and let her take over webinars.
The intros, which is cool. Yeah. So we were talking. I like how, you know, part of what you do for helping people is helping them keep consistent, measurable results, so they always know what to expect, which I think is a big thing with entrepreneurs. Like they're out there. I truly think a lot of people to their first 6 figures just totally wing what they're doing, and they have absolutely no idea, and they almost get there by accident.
Oh, totally.
So could you give us some tips on how you help your clients be able to have those measurable results and that consistency every month? Because I think that's really important.
For sure. And I think one of the big ones as well, I find, like, because we have clients where we do done for you stuff, and obviously we train them as well. One of the big ones is I try and encourage them. I was like, don't think that you are an entrepreneur, right? Because I think it's a word that has been abused, and every network marketer on LinkedIn is now entrepreneur, cryptocurrency advisor. They're everything there. So I think it's been the word that's abused. And I always go, it's like, unless you're like Richard Branson or Elon Musk, it's like, that is kind of entrepreneurial. We have these big businesses. Like, you need to remember that you're a business owner. All right. Because I think that when you say business owner, it's like pressure. Entrepreneur's like, ooh, I'm sexy, I'm fun. And the business owner is like harsh. I'm like, no, you got to be a business owner, number one. And there's a lot of people, and you guys probably would have found with your agency, they come as like, cool, what results, like what can you guarantee me the results? What can you guarantee me? And I go, well, show me your numbers then, and I'll give you a guarantee. And they're like, I don't know my numbers. I'm like, well, then how do you expect me to give you a guarantee? I was like, if you're expecting me to put my livelihood, my work, my money on the fact that I'm going to get you an outcome, but you can't show me the flow through process of everything that's happening in your business right now, I can't guarantee you anything, right? You need to know what your numbers are. And so the predictability comes in. It's like I say to people, it's like, well, once we know what the outcome is and the goal, reverse engineering and stepping that back, then we can know how many conversations you need to have. Because I say pretty much, I'm like, yes, if you have a webinar that's working and rocking, I will help you blow it up with traffic. Sure, not a problem. But if it's not, like, I need you to be willing to jump on phone calls. I need you to be willing to actually put in the work here. And then cool, out of 10, how many people that you close at your price point, then we reverse engineer those numbers. And it's like, cool, we just do anything possible to get those front end numbers working. So I always say that it's like, in an ideal world, if all of us had VC funding, we had millions sitting in the bank, we would just do content marketing on the front end, then we would build a list, and then we would put in some sort of conversion mechanism where we would make sales. In an ideal world, that's exactly how you would do. Just tons of value, retarget them, build a list, and then sell them something. But we need money today, right? We need food today. We need to be able to grow our business today. So we need to start with the conversion mechanism first, build that, then go into building your list and things like that, and then go into content production and pushing things out. Because if you don't make any money, it doesn't matter how good your content is or on the front end, that you've got a pretty short runway, that you're going to cross your fingers that hopefully someone will give you money along the way. So by educating them on that, they're going, we work as fast as possible to get this working, and we know what the numbers are. And if they come to me, I'm like, cool, if there's anything that's not working, so do we just need to turn up the front end, or do you just need to actually do your calls? And I tell them, and sometimes it freaks people out a little bit, but I'm like, have you 100% done the calls that you said you were going to do? Like, if there's a problem, right? If it hasn't been working, 100% done that. Yes, we have. I was like, cool, I need you to give me 5 phone numbers. I'm going to call them right now. And then this is on the agency side and on the training side, right? I'm like, give me 5 phone numbers and I'll call them. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm going to call them and check that you called them. I'm just going to give them a bell and be like, hey, it's Kim from such and such's office, just touching base. How was the conversation with Pete last week? And then they're like, oh, I haven't called all of them. I'm like, oh, yeah, we called all of them. Okay, cool. How about we go call all of them and then we see how the numbers weigh out? Because the biggest thing for most people is the accountability side of things. Like, I think until you have the point where your responsibility is bigger than the responsibility of yourself, where you've got like a team you're responsible for. Like, I find if you're just a solo person, sometimes it's easy to be easy on yourself, right? If you don't have someone there to kind of kick you in the ass and be like, hey, come on, you need to be doing these things. It's easy sometimes like, well, I got 20 leads. I called 5 of them. I made a sale. Don't worry about those other 15 leads. We'll just leave them, kind of sit there. But once you have the responsibility, it's like, I've got other people's mouths to feed. It's like, for me now, if I have a lead, like I said, if someone opts into something and I have their phone number, myself or my sales team, it's like, we're going to follow up until literally, like, we had one guy who we had 86 follow-ups with, because our CRM tracks it all. 86 times I called this dude, messaged him, emailed him, and then he's like, oh, Kim, been meaning to get back to you. I was like, oh, really? We wait until I got to 100 or something? Is that my prize? And then he's like, oh, no, that's cool. And then he's like, boom, sent us like $7,000. But it was like 86 follow-ups to that point. And that's why I say to people, it's like, if you spend the money to bring someone into your world, you've got to be willing to follow up. You've got to be willing to get on board with them. And most of the time where the unpredictability of results comes is because people don't take responsibility for what they actually have happening. Most of the time, it's not really a lead problem or a marketing problem. It's like the back end, it's the follow up, it's the belief in themselves to then sell them something. I'm like, oh, cool. Send me a sales call that you've done and I'll give you feedback. Oh, I haven't recorded any, I haven't tracked any. I messaged a few of them, emailed a few of them. I'm like, that's not, like, I can't give you predictability with that. So the biggest thing is getting people to work the system, I think. I don't know about what you guys, but on my side, it's like, most of the time, if they're not getting predictable results, it's because they're not actually doing something within the process, rather than it's like, oh, I need 5 more leads. It's like, cool, we spend it. Like, I had one client, she messaged me. Sorry, I've gone on a little bit of rant here as well. Just tell me to stop if I need to. But she messaged me and she's like, oh, Kim, like, I'm not getting the results that we were talking about. I was like, oh, really? Okay, cool. What's the, and she's a hairdresser, right? I was doing her a bit of a favor, helping her out. And I was like, what's the results? And she broke everything down for me. And it was costing her like, it was like $5 to get a lead, $50 to make a sale, and her services were like $250. I was like, so you realize, like, we spent $100, you made $250, and product cost was like $50, so it was like $100 profit. I was like, all you need to do, like, she's like, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, all this stuff. I was like, so you have this call with me right now, and your biggest problem is that you just need to increase your ad spend. And she's like, what? I'm like, look here, this number here. We just need to, like, you just need to increase your ad spend, put it up by 50%. And she's like, oh, so she's like, you probably think I'm pretty stupid, right? I was like, no, you're not stupid, but see how much stress and overwhelm you brought onto yourself because of, oh, I'm not making it happen. When really, if you just look at what you've been doing, we're just going to turn the ad spend up. So I was like, so what are you going to do? She's like, turn my ad spend up. I was like, okay, thank you. That was a great 10-minute call. Have fun. We'll chat to you later, right? But it's like people make it so hard for themselves when it's like, oh, really? Oh, I just need to do more phone calls, or I just need to, like, turn my ad spend up. It's really not that much. Like, what we do, none of us are building a spaceship to Mars, right? It's like, cool. We have people on the internet. We have services. We sell it to them. It's like, it really is simple, but all of us, like myself included, hand up, I've done it before. Like, we overcomplicate it for ourselves when we don't really need to.
That's awesome. So, Kim, what's your big vision? I know you're doing like huge things right now. Like, what's the next step up? Like, where you want to go? Like, what's the next like 5 years for you?
There's a couple things. I mean, one thing is like I watch videos of dudes like Grant Cardone and whatnot, and I've got a couple of friends in Perth who are like in a similar space to him, and I see their phone sales rooms. I'm like, just give me that for like 2 weeks. I just want all those people calling for me. So we really want to grow up our team here. So we've got a team of 7. And we've got the capacity to probably get about 15 people in where we are. So really want to grow that up so that we can help more people. And to be honest, get in front of more people from an event standpoint, because I've been told that really when I'm doing either like podcasts, when I'm doing live events, or if I'm like doing one-on-one like coaching, if you will, with people, that's really my biggest like impact where I have with people. Like, people like to, like, when I speak, I've been told people like to hear me speak, so that's cool. So I'm like, well, I want to do more events, but my own events. In the last couple of years, I've spoken hundreds of times, but all at other people's events and whatnot, and which is good. But I really want to kind of dominate and double down on my own events. So we've got our own event coming up soon that I'll be running, and I really want to do more of those and take those to a bigger scale. Because in Australia, to be honest, there's like in the US, you have so much of a variety of stuff. It's like, even I remember this year, within 1 week, there was like 10X Growth Con, there was Funnel Hacking Live, there was Traffic and Conversion Summit, and there was social media work. Like all these events in Australia, there's like none, right? It's like really you have to fly to the US for all these things. And it's like one of my good friends and mentors runs a mastermind, which does pretty good events, or very good events, I should say. And then another buddy of mine runs a conference, which was the first time this year, which was all about digital marketing. But that's it. Like, there's not really, or James Framco as well has a really good event. I've got to put him in there. But that's like 3 spread sporadically throughout the whole year that there's not really much else on. And I'm like, well, I really want, and it frustrates me. I wouldn't say this in the right way, in a nice way. Like, it frustrates me when I see people who give not misinformation, but not the best information out there and spreading it. And it's like, when I should be telling people what I know, which I think will help them more than those people. I'm not saying that these people are bad at what they're saying, but it's like, I don't think they give people the full scope of what they should. They kind of keep it back a little bit. So that's one of my big ones for the next 5 years, is to be putting on bigger events for what I do to help more people, just to get the word out there more. Because in Australia, that we don't have, like, we get bypassed, and if people pop in, they pop into one state and they do a little bit, like Digital Marketer come here and they do a conference on the East Coast, but really it's a 1 day and it's a sales thing and not really that much. But so I really want to kind of give back to Australians in Australia, because otherwise, like, I love going to Funnel Hacking Live. I love flying over to the US, but especially I'm in the most isolated capital city in the world, Perth, which means I got to fly 5 hours to just be able to get on a flight to go to LA, to then fly to Nashville, Orlando, or whatever. So 30 hours later, I get to somewhere cool, and then I'm knackered for 3 days because I'm catching up on jet lag, and then I jump back on a plane and come home again. So it's like, I want to give people the opportunity to do that, to get that level of knowledge, but not necessarily having to leave Australia. Like, it's always good and fun to do so, but I want to give people the choice and the options locally, because we do have good knowledge here. We do have good people here. We just don't really have the scale of events that the US has.
Nice.
I love that. Now, you have an event coming up actually close to my birthday. You're Certified Ballers. Like, I love that name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. After I was like, Funnel Hacking, I think it was last year, I was like, I need a name for my group, and I'm like, I'm just going to call it Certified Ballers. I've been watch like I think on the flight over, it must have been embedded for me, because I watched like the whole first 3 seasons of Ballers with The Rock, and I was like, Ballers. For some reason that name sounds good to me. I'm going to put it in there.
I love it. Awesome. So we always talk about the good stuff with our guests that come on, all the wins that we have, but you've been doing this for a long time, and it's not always a win, right? So I like to also ask this question, something that we ask all of the people that come onto our podcast, because I think it's important to know that the journey, it's good to win, and it's okay to not win sometimes, because we can learn from everything. So what would you say your biggest failure has been, and then how would you overcome that and have it work for you?
Great question. And the reason I'm thinking is not because I don't have any, it's because there's lots of failures in there. So I'm trying to think, what's the biggest one? Look, to be honest, I would say, and I sometimes can re-fall into this trap. The biggest failure for me was not putting more of an emphasis and understanding on money in the business. Now, what I mean by that is, like, I used to work in an accounting firm when I was studying at university and stuff like that. So I knew about numbers and tax, and we have the GST, goods and services tax here as well. But when you're a business and you're bootstrapping and you're starting, it's very easy for you to go like, well, I have this money here. I need to do something. So I'm like, I know this is the government's money technically, but it's my money. People pay it to me. Like, I need to use that. And understanding like cash flow cycles and profit and how to allocate these things out. Like for me, I think it was a really big one that I had several times made the mistake with, and then I got myself caught short, especially when I had like the secondary problem to that I had at one point was I had like 15 staff on, so I was going pretty crazy. But then it's like and I was like, I just keep bringing stuff, so I was like, I'll just keep making sales and everything will push up. And then it's like, something slows down, or I went away and spoke at an event and then no sales happen in a week. It's like, there's like, it gets tight, right? So for me, I think knowing, like, if there's one thing that is not taught wealth entrepreneurs, or business owners, I should say, is really like financial literacy. It's like, or understanding finances in a business, because I think that's the biggest one where people can get caught out. And I think the reason why I think it's the first 5 years they say 95% of businesses will fail is because of that fact. Because you come in, it's like, well, I have this money here, I need to use it. It's very hard for you to go, well, I'm not going to pay this, or I'm not going to do this and leave this money until I read a book by Mike McAllowitz, Profit First, and really started like emphasizing. So now it's like my tax accounts, I can't even see them. They're not in my cash flow forecasts. Like they're completely hidden from me. So that when I log into my net banking, it's like, it's not even there. So now it's like, cool, I only operate because I'm a very much all or nothing guy. As I said, like the addictive personality. It's like, cool, we have more money. Let's spend more money on ads. It's like, no, it's like, I can't even see. I don't even know that it exists. And only my general manager knows. Because for me, that makes it easier for me now to go, cool. Like I use what I have in front of me versus now it's like, it's gone. I don't even know that it exists. It's very well hidden from me. So that one, I think, is the one that I probably made the biggest mistakes, and it was the biggest failure with, especially because I had the understanding and things there, but I didn't apply it to my business and know it. And also then looking at, figuring out profit margins, figuring out if all the jobs and things that we were doing were profitable, figuring out what percentage of my revenue should my staff be, and then how much should I be paying people, and all these other like missed opportunities along the way. I think for me, it was probably the big one. And I think it's a big, not whole, but it's a big thing that a lot of business owners will miss out on, especially when you do start making a bit of money and you have this like, and you're like, oh, what if everyone's like, we're not really like pessimistic. We're not like, next month we have to do that again. It's going to be very hard. And what happens if it doesn't happen? It's like, we are geniuses. It's going to work forever. And it's like, you keep going. And then it's like 1 month is like, oh crap. Like now I have to readjust everything. I didn't really think about that. And I'm just saying that's just because of how I operated. I'm much more controlled now because I have a general manager. And so she's like, Kim, what if that doesn't happen next month? And I'm like, damn you and your accurate your accuracy here. It's like, okay, all right, fine. I won't go and buy that thing or buy this course or do that. I'll wait for a little bit. So I think that is very important, and it's, as I say, it's something that's overlooked and not talked about a lot, because it's like everyone's like, oh, marketing, sales. It's like, oh, finance, accounting, numbers. It's not really sexy. So I think that's really a big one for me that I have focused on, and I really try and encourage a lot of the guys when they come through to me, like that they know their numbers and they know. And I was like, if you don't, like, I've had some people come through and the structures that they've had set up and and like for the financial side of things, I was like, to be honest, I got to send you to someone first, because this is a house, especially in Australia, like we have very specific tax regulations and laws, and it's very tight. And for some people, when I looked at it, I was like, this is a house of cards waiting to fall, especially when it's like, I think you guys have LLCs. We have PTY, LTDs here, which has a little bit of protection and stuff like that for people. Some people, when they don't have those things in place and then they own their houses, and I'm like, oh, this is all very, very precarious here. One bad thing and this all comes tumbling down. So I have to send them to, luckily I've got some really good friends that are great at this. And I try and get them to teach me and keep me on track as much as possible, because, it's it's like the big one. I think it was, I hope I'm saying this right. I think it was all of the big gangsters, all of the big drug runners, anyone that's had businesses and things like that where they've made millions of dollars. The thing that's always come down on them has always been tax, right? It's always been like I think in America it's the IRS, or in Australia, it's the same as the ATO, which has brought people down. So it's like, if you don't have those things in place, not because we're doing anything dodgy, but it's like if people that have tens and hundreds of millions of dollars have made the mistake, it's like us with our $1 million businesses. Like, there's potential for us to do the same. So we've got to make sure that we have all those things, all our ducks lined up there, because otherwise it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's really important. I think a lot of business owners, that's the stuff, just like you said, that's the stuff we don't want to necessarily think about, but it is absolutely vital for you to know your numbers. And thank you for sharing that.
Having all that back end stuff set up, like we're going through Zoho right now and getting that all set up, and we're like, oh my god, like this is like
bring someone in.
Yeah,
right?
bring in some. Yeah, so we
you
now
can't
have
do
a
it
guy.
yourself. Bring in someone who can, because it really is. It's something that we've learned the hard way as well, as not having that stuff in order. That's definitely, I'd have to say, probably one, in agreement with you on one of our biggest mistakes that we've made and have had to pick ourselves up from. So thank you for sharing and being authentic about that, because it's important. Totally.
Yeah. No, my pleasure. So yeah, it's so if anyone's listening, it's like learn from our mistakes. It's like surely if anyone just fast forwarded to the end of the podcast, just listen to the mistakes and just don't do them and learn from them, it's probably going to be equally as good as all the stuff we shared at the beginning.
Yes.
Sure.
You can learn from the mistakes as much as it. Actually, that's somebody who is like, they would just go around to like really successful people and just ask like one question. The question was like, what was your biggest mistake? Like basically the same question that you. Yeah.
There's a reason why I asked that question.
Yeah. And but it's amazing. So
Yeah.
great job, lover.
Thank you.
So
is there anything else? I really want to appreciate your time, and I think you've just dropped so much value. Where can people go? Like, so if you're listening to this, you're really loving what you're hearing. You really want to be able to use Facebook ads and really be able to scale and get your business together. Where can people go to learn more about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many platforms. The easiest ones are on our socials. Your Social Voice is our Facebook page. And on, so that's really where we post all of our core stuff, and we're building a YouTube channel at the moment. So I'd love to get some love over there. Been doing so many videos on there, and I really just want to get past, those 18 views, guys. So if someone could watch it more than me watching it 17 times would just be great. But otherwise, the Instagram at Real Kim Barret and at Your Social Voice, we kind of share a bit more of like obviously the behind the scenes, the day to day, me planning out my 4 a.m. mornings to get up with you guys. You can see that all that fun stuff on there. So if anyone wants to follow us along there, that's where we share a lot of the behind the scenes stuff of what's happening in Your Social Voice on Facebook, is where all of our main content and everything like that shared for people. And our YouTube channel as well is starting to take off also.
Awesome.
is the YouTube channel your personal name, or is it
It's under Your Social Voice as well.
Your Social Voice, and we will also have all of these links below in the comment section of the podcast too. So
Awesome.
go there, check them out. Go reach out to Kim. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for everything. Do you have any last words?
No. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming up.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for listening. And